Have you heard the news? That's right, Creator Clash 3 has been officially canceled. And although I would like for this to be a celebratory moment, like the monument of an evil dictator being torn down to symbolize the reign of terror being over, unfortunately, this is actually a terrible thing for everyone involved.
It's over.
To recap, Creator Clash is, or was, an influencer boxing event for charity, and although it's widely recognized as Idubbbz' boxing event, it's always really been a joint venture between Ian, Anisa, and a company called Real Good Touring. And Real Good Touring was started by Aaron Hansen of Game Grumps and Brent Lilly, who is the CEO of the Game Grumps company. Now, that may not sound like that big of a deal considering Game Grumps peaked in popularity years ago, but the fact of the matter is that Real Good Touring, and more specifically Brent Lilly, is extremely legit in the entertainment business. For example, Brent was involved in the development of a game called Homebody, which currently sits at a very powerful 9 out of 10 on Steam, okay?
Why are you gay?
He's produced several web content related movies, and through Real Good Touring, he's managed to host a ton of successful YouTuber events. Stuff with the Game Grumps, Jacksepticeye, and a handful of live streams like Markiplier's final Unis Honest stream. And keep in mind here, this is just me citing the big names, right? Because if you check out their website, you can see that they're involved with dozens of other events. Last but not least, there's also another even less known founder, and his name is Mike Leonardi. He's the head of a boxing promotion that was part of multiple of Jake Paul's boxing events.
Jake Paul is the strongest army out there, dab.
So all of this is to say that Creator Clash wasn't some backyard fight club being run by Ian and Anisa. It actually had everything that it needed to succeed. And in the first event, it actually did. The problem, apart from the obvious, is that Creator Clash was a victim of its own success in a few ways. First of all, because the first event went so well, it meant that Ian and Anisa thought that all of their decisions regarding the organization of the event were automatically justified. Secondly, after a single successful event, they were confident enough to make the second one even bigger. Both of these proved to be so wrong. You remember when Ian came forward with that video that was like the harsh reality of Creator Clash 2, when he said that it failed to break even, they didn't even raise any money for charity, they lost like 250 grand, right? During that video, a lot of problems became very obvious. The first problem that I really noticed was the absence of Anisa, whose face was all over the promotion and the lead up to the event. She was on the H3 podcast promoting it. She was like, I am a boxing promoter, I'm gonna promote it, I'm the fucking girl boss goat, all right? Hey, it's ma'am! It's me! I mean, her face was all over the promotion and the lead up to the event, right? But as soon as things go wrong, the only person you see talking is Ian. This was a little bit suspicious, just a little bit. It sounded off my, what the Sigma? Alarm bells. I didn't know what was going on there. And it was very interesting to me that Ian and all of the responses would be like, I fucked up, but Anisa's a great communicator. She's great at communicating.
You ask any of our fighters and it's like, yeah, Anisa was the one who like solves problems. She is more communicative than me, and she's better at communicating than I am. I fucking suck at this shit. So Anisa is the one. She is the one to talk to.
Even if Ian isn't as great of a communicator as Anisa supposedly is, at least here, he's trying to give an account of why things went wrong and why the event lost so much money. While Anisa is nowhere to be seen, despite the fact that she wants to take credit for the entire event going well in the first place. And then we get to the issue of the loss of money, right? $250,000.
You know, despite it being a fun event and despite good fights and a lot of creators sacrificing a lot of time, money, and energy, we lost $250,000 on the event.
I don't even want, like, I seriously think that might be the most I've ever lost.
Although it's not clear to me if Ian and Anisa were facing this loss specifically, or if it was distributed among all the owners of the event besides them. What we do know from this video is that the lack of financial returns basically caused them to not be able to properly pay back what they call the fighter minimums, which was a sum of $20,000 that was supposed to cover several months worth of training and dieting, all of which was apparently overseen by Anisa, who had a background in kinesiology.
We've got quite a few people that they were my dream picks.
Who's your dream pick?
Well, none of your business, Sam.
If they decide to cancel, me and Sam will definitely do it.
Cool.
Cool. That's great.
That's insane. Like,
Damn.
Is there something that you did to help you eat? Like, what did you do to put on the pounds?
I don't know, just weightlifting with Anisa and eating a lot.
I have a kinesiology background, nutrition background, so I'm able to kind of like
She was guiding me the whole time.
Whatever that means. I have a background in kinesiology, actually. Did you know I have a background in having a bubble butt? Now, there are a lot of issues with this. The majority of the fighters were sub-amateur in terms of skill level, which was particularly grating to see considering how much emphasis Ian put on all of them taking boxing very seriously, and this is their skill, and oh my god, everybody's really training. Oh, I'm a boxer. The thing is, they're not actually professional boxers, and I don't think you should expect them to be. These people aren't going to be professional boxers in the future. They're content creators, and their main skill is, you guessed it, making content. For whatever reason, Ian thought that he should tell them all to put their careers on hold so that they could take training more seriously for a fake boxing event.
Aside from putting your streaming career or your YouTube career or TikTok on hold while you're training.
And on top of that, almost none of them made any content about actually training for Creator Clash, including Ian, which resulted in the very unsurprising failure of the promotion of the event. A lot of people who saw the first event or even bought tickets didn't even know that there was going to be a second one. And if they did know there was going to be a second event, they didn't know where to go to watch it, they didn't know where to go to see it at all. Another issue with the pay is, based on what's being communicated here, it was an undisclosed risk, as the fighters themselves didn't even know that they wouldn't get their money if the event did poorly. A way to appropriately do this would be to disclose the risk ahead of time, which could mean going all the way and making the payments through percentages of the event's revenue, giving higher percentages to bigger content creators who will draw in more viewers. But the unfortunate fact of the matter is, as much as it sounds cruel of me to say this, the majority of the fighters on the card were just too small to draw enough viewership to make the event worth the $20,000 that they were going to get paid. Maybe they could in some hypothetical world where their channels all explode in the few months in the lead up to Creator Clash. But the thing about that is, Ian told them not to make content about the event in the first place. The problem here was that Ian tried to treat Creator Clash as if it were an established fighting promotion, as if they already had a big name and a big brand, when they just did not at all. It would have been much better if he had just went the route of these smaller promotions in the boxing or MMA world, like Street Beefs, Top Dog FC, King of the Streets, and all these other events that want to grow their stuff more linearly, not taking too much of a financial risk and not demanding that their fighters all get months of training and dieting held up to a specific and arbitrary standard set by PhD kinesiologist Anisa. If that had been the case and the fighters would be paid in percentages, then they could have tried to find smaller content creators who are willing to put in as much effort as possible to make the event interesting and draw in viewership, making money and making a name for themselves at the same time. Unfortunately, instead, they decided to try to make the event more professional than it actually was. And the fighters and charities ended up paying for the price of that decision, which is that they all got no money. And this brings us to the more egregious problems, like Ian taking on even more random, small content creators for the second event's card, the arena they rented being twice as big as the one from the first event, and $500,000 of the total amount being dedicated to pre- and post-fight gala events.
So we bought out a hotel to make sure all the creators had a safe place that they can stay.
This stuff has drawn a lot of negative attention, to say the least, and it is as bad and stupid as it sounds. Ian rented out an entire fucking hotel for all of the content creator participants and their loved ones to stay at for the entire duration of the event, which is where the pre- and post-fight gala would take place, when a bunch of YouTubers dress up in their little they dress up in their little suits. Okay, and they're like, hey, me and my wife noticed you from across the post-fight gala. Was wondering if you want to come back to our polyamorous hotel room to process our trauma. And Ian said that these galas were extremely necessary. They were super needed. You had to be there. You gotta be there, okay? We gotta process our trauma.
We also had events the day before the fight and the day after the fight, so that, fighters and friends and family could come together and process their trauma.
Now, I haven't mentioned this other little part yet, but another aspect that went into the lead up to both of the first two Creator Clash events were controversies that were either started by or directly involved Idubbbz. In the first one, there was the banning of Sam Hyde from the event, when of course Ian was the one to attract Sam's attention in the first place by making a documentary about him, which prompted Sam to connect with and train one of the fighters on Creator Clash's card, Harley Morenstein, Epic Mealtime, Then for the second creator clash, we have the removal of Froggy Fresh from the event due to him also training with Sam Hyde. Although Froggy joking about Anisa's OnlyFans probably also played a factor in the final decision of removing him from the event. While Sam being banned from the first event didn't make that much of a difference, once Froggy was on the card and then got removed, that attracted a lot of negative attention from established content creators. And that definitely did the event no favors. Now this PR hit was made even worse with how the controversy ended, with Froggy Fresh showing that he had been threatened with a lawsuit and Ian claiming that that had never happened. But the person who really suffered the most from all of this was Chris Raygun, the person with whom Froggy was supposed to fight. But instead, he ended up fighting William Haynes, who was 10 pounds heavier and 6 inches taller than him. One angle that I haven't really seen a lot of people speak about is the fact that Ian and Anisa had 3 other business partners in this event who were way less controversial than they were. And much like the majority of the fighters in this event, they had no stake in all of these online squabbles and all of this online drama. They did not care, but they did suffer the consequences of it. And so after this absolute blunder, it looks like the event was dead and buried. But a year later, Ian returned to announce Creator Clash 3, only to immediately show everybody that he had not learned since Creator Clash 2 at all.
I think the single most important element of an influencer boxing event is the mystery component. Obviously, you gotta have, popular influencers. Maybe it's important to have a little drama, a little beef. But what I think makes influencer boxing interesting at its core is the mystery. Who's gonna train? Who's not going to train, and what does their particular background contribute to the outcome of the fight?
Once again, this was clearly shaping up to be a massive failure. Fighting events are run the way that they're run because they work. Promoting a fight means giving people a reason to watch it, and clearly, simply having people with 200,000 subs fighting is not enough. Even if the drama is blatantly fake to the point that people are like, oh, that's fake, WWE, whatever, that's not even a bad thing. That's why WWE has heels. People tune in because they want to see the heel lose. At the bottom of this kind of distribution, you have people like Jake Paul. And at the top of it, you have people like Floyd Mayweather. And their talent, beyond boxing, obviously, is getting people to tune in because they want to see them get beat up or they want to see them beat someone else up. To give him a little bit of credit, after the failure of Creator Clash 2, Ian did run a live stream fundraiser and he successfully sent 160 grand to charity. And it seemed like he was openly planning to have Creator Clash 3 be run in parallel to the charity effort. This meant that while some proceeds from Creator Clash 3 would go to charity, the event itself would run independently from the fundraising efforts to prevent a situation like Creator Clash 2 happening again. That means that if Creator Clash 3 would have miraculously failed, who could have seen that coming, right? Basically the charities wouldn't be exposed to that loss. It would only be Ian and Anisa and maybe Real Good Touring and all their business partners, right? All in all, not the dumbest idea whatsoever. But unfortunately, there were some other persistent problems with Ian's approach. For example, Ian talked about promoting the event more this time around, including having fighters and him making content out of the event, which is absolutely necessary for something like this. But it doesn't seem like that content ever really materialized at all. One of the few smart things that he and all his business partners could have and should have invested some money into is actually paying for some kind of competent social media manager. Someone who knows how to make edits and videos on stuff like Instagram Reels and TikTok that are really gonna promote the event and get people to be aware of what's happening. Instead, all we have is an edit that was probably made by Ian himself at the end of the announcement video, and that's it. That's literally it. I think the reason why they did it this way is because Ian and everyone around him assumed that because he was a successful content creator, that he just must be a good representative. He must be able to pull it off himself, but he clearly didn't do that. As far as I can tell, the TikTok and Instagram accounts related to the event don't even have that many uploads, and the ones that are there aren't really edited in any kind of particularly retention grabbing way. Most of them are just post-fight event highlights that obviously wouldn't directly result in ticket sales and pay-per-views for the next event, as there was always 1 year between events. All of this made things look really not good. But there's a big difference between looking not good and looking condemned, okay? And looking it's over. It's we're in Mordor now. But before long, Creator Clash did in fact end up looking like it was going to be in the toilet. In February of 2025, the lineup for the event was released, and although it did have some okay names, It was mostly more of the same people that already fought in the previous events, although Ian was not on the card this time. Apparently, he wasn't going to fight this time around so that he could focus on properly running the event. So that must have meant that he was going to be really promoting it this time, right? Well, over a month went by after the announcement of Creator Clash 3, and there were no new videos of Ian promoting the event whatsoever. Instead, on the 20th of March, he made a video making fun of cringy and out-of-touch conservative people. However justified he is in making fun of a lot of these people, shouldn't he be making content about Creator Clash like he suggested he would in his announcement? If he did have a bunch of stuff about Creator Clash and he was promoting it, and then some other unrelated videos, but at the end of every unrelated video, he's plugging Creator Clash, I mean, this would be much less of an issue. But there's literally nothing else here. Also, as the representative of a business, which, as far as I understand it, isn't supposed to be political in nature, shouldn't he be avoiding this kind of stuff? It's not like he's making like groundbreaking videos. He's just making fun of the most cringe, low-hanging fruit. It's just breadtube content, which I think just kind of makes it obvious that instead of promoting the event, he was more concerned in signaling his allegiance to BreadTube, to the lefties, to Hassan Piker, I guess. Well, whatever the case, Ian decided that it was time to double down on this formula. Let's double down! And about a month later, after years of no longer doing content cops, because he didn't want to be negative about other content creators, even if they deserved it, and he didn't want to go after people, he didn't want to breed negativity and spite and bile, he decided to make a content cop about his friend H3H3. If you're watching this video and you somehow don't know about the lore, I guess, Ian and Ethan from H3 used to be the tightest of buddies, the tightest of friends, all right? They were talking in the DMs. They made a bunch of videos together. They made a bunch of vlogs together. H3's second most viewed video is him making fun of Logan Paul with Ian. And clearly Ian's respect and admiration for Ethan went beyond content creation, because in a I can't believe this is real. In a live streamed therapy session that he did, he cried as he described how much he admires Ethan and Hila's relationship, and it's something he said he wanted for himself.
You know, I also see the dynamic of Ethan and Hila. I'm like, fuck, like, it's just really it's really hard to be a couple online and see people attacking your partner, and it's like, okay, like if you come to their defense, that doesn't always help them, right? Sometimes that makes it worse for them. So I'm seeing Ethan go through a lot of that, Ethan and Hila. And yeah, I just I really relate heavily to the harassment that they're getting.
Much like Ian, over the years, Ethan moved away from the kind of content he used to make and became increasingly left-wing, which really had its peak when he did the podcast Leftovers with Hassan Porker, who is a very notorious leftist Twitch streamer you guys probably know. Well, eventually that podcast fell apart, mostly because Ethan and Hassan grew very uneasy with each other's opinions on Israel versus Palestine. Ethan, who's a Jewish guy who was married to Hila, who's a former IDF conscript, was not as on board with the anti-Israel sentiment. He wasn't as adamantly anti-Israel as Hassan was, especially when it came to the topic of anti-Israel Islamic radicals, which Ethan felt that Hassan was minimizing or was too lenient towards, or you know, he had one on his live stream, so there's also that. But the thing is, due to Ethan having grown from a different kind of content entirely, it's not really surprising that a lot of the Leftovers audience was also Hassan's audience, because Hassan was already a political streamer before this podcast. So obviously people who like him for his political takes are going to go watch a podcast where he gives his political takes. And even as Ethan tried to make some amends by donating $6,500 to Hassan's pro-Palestine charity, he felt that he had basically burned a bridge with Hassan's audience, who would never let the issue go. So slowly, over the course of a year or so, Ethan began seeing Hassan as incentivizing, or at the very least, tolerating some very over-the-top H3 hate in his community. And this all culminated in Ethan making a content nuke about Hassan, where he documented all of these instances where Hassan seemed to show support for anti-Israel radicals and was tolerant of the anti-H3 hate coming from his community and his orbiters. But as I said in my video on the Turkey Tom channel, things really crossed the line when about a month after the initial content nuke, Ethan announced that some anonymous person had called CPS on him, claiming that he allowed his children to eat doggy doo-doo, which caused them to get parasites. While he had previously spoken about his family contracting Giardia, Giardia, and how his adopted dogs also had it when he adopted them and he had to treat them for it. The context clearly did not suggest some kind of negligence towards his children, and Ethan was clearly concerned about doing things to combat the issue, like medicating his dogs and taking his kids to the doctor to make sure they're okay. But at this point, there was an army of small Hassan orbiters lining up to do whatever they could to go after Ethan, namely Bad Empanada, who straight up claimed that Ethan let the dogs shit all over his house and didn't clean it, which, if he had done that, that would be in the realm of negligence if it were true, but it's not. And when Bad Empanada made these claims, it was signal boosted by fellow Hassan orbiter Idubbbz.
Bad Empanada talk about the state of our house and how we take care of our kids. Let's take a look.
He lets his dogs shit all over his mansion, and he just leaves the shit on the floor, something that is probably related to the fact that his former housekeeper is suing him for a number of different reasons. So I would assume he doesn't actually have a housekeeper anymore, or perhaps he lost his extra housekeeper. So now the house is just like covered in dog shit. And he has kids, and his kids like crawl into the dog shit, and God forbid, I don't know what they do with it. I don't know if they eat it, or if it's just from like contact with it with their hands or something, but they contracted a parasite that I had previously never heard of in my life called Giardia from the dog shit that is all over his house.
Dude, how is it that like maybe once a week I look into what Ethan Klein's been up to, and every time I manage to find more and more terrible shit.
Now, she doesn't really endorse what this guy is saying necessarily, but you can tell that she's not really questioning it either, which is irresponsible at best. The fact that this stream moment took place just a few days before the CPS call led Ethan to, I think, somewhat reasonably draw that these events could be related, okay? Even if the CPS call didn't result in anything particularly traumatic, obviously it looks like it was requested with some very malicious intent. That intent being to put Ethan and Hila's kids, or their relationship with their kids, in some kind of peril. However bad this is, it's at this point that Ethan jumped the shark and became somewhat paranoid about anyone who was still in the extended orbit of Hassan, which happened to include Ian.
Anyway, this guy was saying shit like that Hila's a Nazi, that she kills kids, that she went on like, she's a IDF baby killer, all this types of shit. And that's showing up right up on Anisa's and Idubbbz feed. My good fucking friends who I stood by after all these fucking years can't find a spine to speak up. You know why? Because they'll get murdered.
You don't know what's on my feed. What the fuck is happening? For all you know, I only use the For You tab. For all you know, I only use lists. For all you know, I'm seeing these things tweeted out by my editor of a year and a half ago and saying, God, that is nasty.
And to be clear, he does have some reason to feel betrayed. For example, Ian and Anisa not only invited, but also flew out over 300 content creators to their little gala events for Creator Clash 1 and 2, and while Hassan was among them, Ethan was not, despite being one of the very few people who had helped them promote the event in the lead up to the fight. And keep in mind, Ethan and Hila did this for them, despite the fact they were very controversial at the time, despite the fact that Ian was being called like a soy cuck by the entire internet. He didn't care. He was like, we're friends, come on the pod, I'll help you promote your thing. I think that if you're gonna criticize Ethan, there could be an argument to be made that he was being too paranoid during this event. He was being too paranoid towards Idubbbz, too cynical, but that really does not match up to the way that Idubbbz responded, because Idubbbz then dropped a content cop on Ethan. And not only that, but Ian directly featured Idubbbz, who signal boosted the CPS claim, and Hassan in the video, which is like, you've slighted me in a small and almost imperceptible way.
I've decided I now need to destroy your life, credibility, and career.
Now, in the content cop video, there's no mention of the CPS situation, which obviously was a big part of the entire conflict that needed to be mentioned. In his follow-up video, which is called Content Deputy, Ian addressed the lack of the CPS thing, basically saying that it was Ethan and Hila's fault for being too open online about his family's health issues, and that it could have been anyone who called CPS on him, including Ethan's own chat. If that sounds like it's some kind of arbitrary defense of what Bad Empanada and Idubbbz were doing, it's because it is. Ian has streamed therapy sessions. His wife has an OnlyFans. She has talked at length about Ian having IBS, and she tells strangers on Discord about him treating her poorly. These people are the epitome of a glass house in this situation. Now, while the content cop really didn't have a huge effect on Ethan, it did have a huge devastating effect on Creator Clash 3. I don't think that this is like a crazy thing to say, but obviously when you're running a business, being extremely controversial about a political issue and picking a fight with someone who is essentially your former business partner, it might be a disaster. It might be bad for Creator Clash 3, and it was. Obviously, when the main representative of the event isn't even promoting the event, and they then go on to make their entire personality and channel about an extremely controversial foreign war, people don't take that too well. One of the first people to drop out of the event was Lena Ayad. Now, Lena's husband, AB, had also fought in the previous Creator Clash, and both of them literally work for the H3 podcast. So you can imagine that all of this put them in a really kind of awkward situation. Now, around the same time that happened, Harley Morenstein, who was one of the biggest names who had definitely produced the better fights in the previous Creator Clashes, he also ended up stepping down. And this was particularly scathing as a bit of a scandal, because not only had Harley been consistently supportive of Ian and Anisa over the past couple of years, even during the Froggy Fresh thing, but also he was open about how much he liked doing the events. And this is how he explained him leaving.
In regards to the whole Creator Clash thing, I'm very content to not be a part of it. I mean, I wish, you know what, I got a couple friends like boxing and Creator Clash, so I'm still like, I hope it works out. But I'm happy that I'm not a part of it. I think it's just been like really ugly lately. It just didn't feel, especially the way the last one was. And I love how the event ran, but it really hurt the feelings of a lot of fighters that the charities didn't get money, and we were informed months after. So it was something that I was just like, oh, I have to remember I am working with YouTubers. Well, so there's Creator Clash and I was down to do it. And even with the content cop, Ian and Ethan, them doing that, that's fine. But like, people got weird. They would hit me up and they're like, oh, what's the environment of this event going to be? And like, you know, it's like, it's fine. You know, I was committed to it. LA Beast was going to be doing it. People that they kind of, the event endorses or puts like front and center were saying some crazy shit, in my opinion. And I was not comfortable endorsing an event that would endorse these people and their words.
Anti-Semitic stuff? Like what were they saying?
Well, one specific thing that like kind of, that was out of all the things that had been said, Hassan, and I knew they were going to be doing a fundraiser with him, but his, he was like, oh yeah, if you've ever said anything positive about Israel, you shouldn't be allowed to even be a dog catcher. You should be treated like a neo-Nazi. And I was like, hey, my family and friends and my community, that's so crazy, all of them. But then like, it was, the conversation was really political, and because like, I don't know if you guys caught the official Creator Clash fundraiser.
No.
They just did one with like Hassan, and it was him reacting to this video that Ethan made about him. So they're just like talking a lot about like the Houthis and Hezbollah and Hamas, and like, was there rapes on, and like, it's just all this. And I'm like, what's up with the boxing though? Like, what's going on with like the boxing? Like, I see what you're saying, and I see that he's like, you know, like I saw you was like gassing up North Korea a little bit, giving their stock, giving the North Korean stock a little boost.
Damn, didn't even know they were in the mix.
Yeah, they're cool now. They're cooler than you now.
Oh,
I literally have no idea how they're related in the slightest. Like, are they?
No, it's just like this is like the attachment that the event has to these conversations now. Just the things that I'm riffing on and joking about, like it has an actual attachment to these type of things because of the people that they, you know, officially put front and center. And so, like, no hate to them, it's their event. I was just like, oh yeah, if some of these things are gonna happen, it's not really comfortable for me to participate moving forward. And then they were like, okay, and then I was like, cool. And then like a couple days later, they were like, yeah, they're stepping down.
Later on in the same month, Harley's opponent, LA Beast, also dropped out of the event. And keep in mind, these guys were the headliners. So the event's top fight was now TBD versus TBD. It was anyone's guess. While the fighters were dropping like flies and refund requests were spiking like crazy, to the point where the management had to make exceptions to its policy to accommodate them, Ian and Anisa just stepped away from the event. They were like, I'm done, I'm out.
I'm gonna make this pencil disappear. It's gone.
I guess they were trying to step away from the event to like allow the other owners to salvage what was left after basically realizing they had torched so much of it. But along with the announcement that Ian and Anisa were stepping away, Aaron Hansen and Elena Pierce stepped forward to announce that they would be manning the ship now in a video that's now privated. You can't even watch it. Lost media. Now in this video, they had delivered the good news that their independent charity fundraisers had already made a lot of money. But what really piqued people's interest here was when they mentioned that there would be a transparency section where they explained how the payment would work. Now when people went to that transparency section on the website, they discovered that Ian and Anisa were originally going to get 34% of what the event made, which obviously made a lot of people kind of upset. You know, a little bit of outrage was generated for show. It made a lot of people think that that had always been the case, right? That they were supposed to always get 34%. Now, in response to this, Ian responded, because Anisa never speaks about when things go wrong ever. He made a couple of posts to explain himself, saying that this was only going to be the case for Creator Clash 3, and it wasn't supposed to be the case for the previous events. Now, while this isn't as bad, it's still pretty crazy that they were going to try to make money off of this thing when they were largely the reason it was doing so poorly in the first place. It's like, hey man, I know I just torched our business, but I need all the money. In addition to that, Ian conveniently never mentioned the payment distribution in his Creator Clashes back video. But ultimately, this was good news because Creator Clash had made the smart decision to move to a percentage-based payment model, and all of Ian and Anisa's cut would now be going to the fighters. But despite pulling back from the public, despite not being involved in Creator Clash whatsoever, Ian and Anisa, well, not Ian and Anisa. Ian and then Anisa, like behind the scenes, like typing on her little like, they decided to die on the hill that they weren't mismanaging the Creator Clash money at all, okay? And he did it in a video he posted on his channel where he openly defended these gala events, saying that they were meant to promote Creator Clash and they were going to help increase business, which is so stupid. I feel like he must be rage baiting. Like, I don't even really believe that.
You get a bunch of creators to show up to a fucking hotel the night before their fight, and they're going to post about it on social media, and the internet will be abuzz. And the event was successful, so we thought that that strategy of having, you know, a little hubbub, a little hullabaloo before the event and after the event was a good idea.
Considering that the galas literally began a day prior to the whole Creator Clash thing, people would have to like stumble upon one of these guys' Instagram stories where they're at the gala, figure out from that the gala is related to Creator Clash, go and see the card to see who's fighting on it, and then either buy like same day plane tickets to get to Tampa, or I guess they can buy tickets for the pay-per-view to see an event they found out about one day prior with a bunch of people on the card they don't give a fuck about. Like, maybe this would have worked if it was like PewDiePie and Dream and call me Carson and call me Carson. You can call me Carson. It is truly mind-numbing to me that even after Ian is clearly directly responsible for Creator Clash 2 not going well, he continues to give in his 2 cents, to pitch into the bucket, to like defend everything he did and be like, well, actually there was a good reason behind it, and I'm a boxing promoter. Now, around the same time that this video went up, Creator Clash 3 was rescheduled for October. And despite the fact that a lot of people had dropped out at this point, there was a little bit of hope being held on to, mostly not by like any of the viewers because nobody gave a shit, but mostly by some of the fighters that this thing would still happen at some point. But as time went on, things only looked more and more grim, especially as it concerned Ian and Anisa. It turns out that when you repeatedly screw people over for years without thinking about the consequences, that will eventually come back to you. In early June, a legitimate boxing coach, who is Michael Briggs, and his wife, Kate, they took part in a 4-hour-long podcast with none other than Ethan Klein. Thanks to them working with Ian and Anisa for as long as they did, they had a lot more to say about them than any of the online hater guys did, right? Any of the online trolls. The alt-right trolls! A very helpful, useful Reddit user named Antique Text eventually compiled every new piece of information that came out during the course of this podcast. And they include, Ian and Anisa reduced their payment and offered instead to pay them in exposure by promoting their business in the documentary that was going to be made about the whole event. But of course, the documentary never materialized. While Ian does mention the documentary thing in his Creator Clash 3 announcement video, he neglects to mention Michael or Kate's involvement in it. Secondly, Anisa also tried to control what kind of music played in the gym they were training in, despite there being a bunch of other people also training there that had nothing to do with Creator Clash. And this led to her getting into arguments with Michael. The day after one of these arguments happened, Ian went behind Michael's back and talked to his wife, trying to tell her that Michael didn't respect women. Thirdly, days before both of the events, Anisa tried to sabotage them in a variety of ways, from claiming she was gonna die of anorexia, to demanding Ian immediately buy a new house, to getting a surgery on her boobs right as he was about to start fight camp.
We have weigh-ins on Friday in the press conference, and then we have the fight on Saturday. On Wednesday, she said she had such bad anorexia that she was gonna die. So she tells Ian,
Jesus.
I'm gonna die, but if I go to the hospital, they're gonna hold me and I'm gonna miss the event.
Knowing them for so many years and traveling with them and being with them all the time, I realized that it's something that she does. She has this way of always sabotaging every single moment before he's about to have a big moment. You know what I mean?
Makes it about her.
Correct. Like, for example, for CC1, she decided, she came to the gym and she was like, oh, our lease is ending and we need to buy a new house right now. Otherwise, I'm going to be homeless. The world's ending. So then Ian had to go and try to buy a new house for her, but then he couldn't because he had to sell his house in San Diego first. Otherwise, he wasn't going to be able to do that. So then they had to sell the house in San Diego, then buy like their over $1 million house in Seattle the week or two before CC1. And then for CC2, before he was supposed to start training for his fight camp, right? But then they didn't come and train. And then she decided that she was gonna have her tits removed, like during his fight camp.
Oh, that was the second one.
Number 4, speaking of this fight camp, right before the first Creator Clash, Anisa instructed Ian to ignore his coach's advice about dieting and eat a bunch of Denny's to put on weight. Now that's actually, that one's actually based. That's what I've been doing. I've been eating at Chili's, not Denny's. But number 5, when Anisa didn't go with him to the gym, Ian didn't even train at all, despite telling his coach that he would. Number 6, Michael's wife, Kate, someone who had been a victim of human trafficking for the purpose of becoming a child bride, asked Ian and Anisa to promote her cause of passing laws that would entirely ban it, and they refused to. Number 7, at one point, Anisa told Michael and Kate that the main thing she looked for in a husband is for him to be a millionaire, which Ian ticked the box on. And when she said this, he looked visibly disappointed. Yo! Number 8. During his training, Anisa would shamelessly crush on Ian's sparring partner who was beating him up badly and made sure everyone knew about it. Number 9. Out of all of the tattoos Ian had, only one of them, the eagle on his chest, was his choice. All of the other ones were the result of Anisa telling a tattoo shop to just put whatever they wanted on Ian, even if it was just for practice. Number 10. Lastly, when it came to the after parties and galas, not only were Michael and Kate not invited, but when they brought it up as a way to make connections and get some exposure, Anisa shot it down, saying that only influencers should be there to promote the event, despite the majority of them not even doing it, because, well, they weren't required to do it by Ian and Anisa. Additionally, how are you going to promote an event after it's already happened? 11. Possibly the most egregious element of the gala after party is that for the second one, Anisa straight up said that the after party was meant for communists and sex workers. Bruh. Yeah! Basically, trying to run a harem of OF girls for the leftist streamers she wanted to be friends with vicariously through Ian. Now, the final bombshell to this entire thing came on the 7th of July, and that's when the team behind the whole Creator Clash thing announced that the event was officially canceled, with all of the buyers being automatically refunded. Now, at face value, this seemed like the full stop, period, end to the saga, right? But this still made a lot of waves, as now a lot of people who were associated with the event had no reason to stay silent on their issues because the event is over. It's Jover. They got fucked. Now, one of these people was a guy named Dad, okay? He's not your dad. He's not my dad, but he's a guy on YouTube named Dad. And he, much like Harley, was and still is one of the people who have been supportive of Ian and Anisa. But even he couldn't handle how horribly mismanaged everything was, mainly because it put him in some dire straits financially.
I'm really bummed that the event isn't happening, and I'm now here making this video when for so long I tried very hard to not be negative and not jump in on all the negative talk going on surrounding the event. I tried to be a very positive person publicly and promote the event and ignore all the stuff that was going on. But now it's not happening anymore, so it doesn't matter, and I'm just gonna say everything I've been thinking. I don't like talking about the money and the payments and complaining about that, but Creator Clash 2 and 3 have genuinely put me into a bad spot financially.
Now, Dad goes on to explain that while he was pretty careful with the money he was paid to train for Creator Clash 1 so that he could keep some of it, and he even got a bonus on top of that, he spent all of his Creator Clash 2 training money because the event was supposed to be bigger than the first one and result in much bigger bonuses. Obviously, that didn't end up happening. So he basically made no money whatsoever for him taking part in this event. This goes back to what I was saying earlier about Ian and Anisa conditioning everyone involved to take it seriously and treat it like a job, not make content, not do your YouTube content creation stuff, which actually makes you money. And in the end, this entire thing, despite them being like, it's so serious, turned out to be a flimsy amateur YouTube boxing event that was absolutely falling apart at the seams. But this gets even worse when we get to Creator Clash 3.
So this year, year 3, I get on the phone and I talked for an hour. And I was like, I really don't know if I want to do this. What I was told by this person, yes, you're probably going to make a check this time. A ton of people are going to watch it. The mistakes were learned from year 2. Well, now look at where we are. It was even worse than year 2. And now I don't know if it's from the boxing, but it happened one night when I had a very hard sparring session. When I turn my head now, I see bright flashes on the side and left of my head. I'm seeing them right now. It happens all the time. It happens all the time. And I never had that happen. And then that night it started happening. And it was after 2 weeks in a row of hard sparring. And that was the hardest sparring I'd ever had. Didn't take me down though. And then he had to take a knee. And he is a 27-year-old amateur boxer. Just saying. Well, what the heck does it matter? Because I just did it all. And now I'm seeing flashing and my knees kill. And I don't get anything for it. And there's no fight happening. One time during training not too long ago, my whole arm went numb again when I got hit by a shot. Now, that being said, this is boxing and I did sign up for it voluntarily. I'm aware of what happens in boxing. I'm aware you get injuries and I'm okay with that and I'm willing to accept them. It's just really disappointing and a bummer because now I don't get to even fight in the event or make a little bit of extra cash to help pay rent. Creator Clash 3 this year didn't pay us the $20,000. They paid us the first 2 years. We were offered $15,000 this year. Then I heard through Harley, LA Beast got the 15 and then additional 7,000. And I was like, what the heck, dude? I just talked on the phone for an hour months ago and got convinced to do this because I was told everyone was getting paid the same thing. Now someone's getting 7,000. I reached out, I was like, can I get that 7,000? Answer was no. Answer was, okay, we can get you a brand deal. That's not happening now. LA Beats makes more on us than us. He makes out with more money. I'm in 3 of these freaking things. And I'm not blaming LA Beast. He got what he got because he asked for it. Why the heck did I not get it when I asked for it in the very, very beginning before the thing was even announced?
Ever since Ian has begun his transition to his current self, he's repeatedly emphasized how much he's changing, how much he wants to be responsible now, right? And also he constantly talks about how good Anisa is at communicating. Well, it turns out that neither of those are even close to being true. As according to Dad or Nathan, I'm just gonna call him Nathan. Most of these negotiations and announcements are done by unnamed random third parties, and they clearly didn't even internally coordinate with each other, right? These are just being done on a case-by-case basis. So it's totally disorganized. Nathan also goes on to echo the sentiment that Harley had for the fallout of the Ethan and Ian drama.
Then I go camping. People on the internet were talking about this camping trip. The trip was set up by my coach as something he wanted to do in his life. He likes camping. And he thought, hey, you and Ren from Corridor and I trained together. Ian's like, hey, I want to come. Ian came down from Seattle. He joined us. Odd Ones Out was there. Alex Ernst was there. Steven, another YouTube boxer, she was there. It was a bunch of us. On this camping trip is where Ian tells me, hey, I'm doing another content cop. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And he goes, yeah, it's on Ethan. And I was like, Ethan Klein? And he said, yeah, it's on Ethan Klein. And I thought, oh no, why would you do that? The reason I was so concerned by this, Ethan and I had a very big misunderstanding for Creator Clash 2 with our promotion for the fight. I'm not gonna tell this story again, I've told it in the past, but like everything's fine with Ethan and I. It's all done, we've talked and we've messaged and we're all good. So when Ethan and I made up, I was so relieved. This like huge weight came off my shoulders. I was like, okay, I'm not at odds with somebody. Then Ian tells me, before Creator Clash 3 is about to happen, oh, I'm putting out a hit piece on Ethan Klein. And I'm thinking, oh my God, dude, why are you doing this? Why are you trying to cause trouble? Because now I'm thinking, this is gonna ruin Creator Clash 3 and I'm gonna get screwed again. Yes, I can tell him I'm concerned. I truly thought it was a work. It was like a WWE promo thing where like they were gonna have a fake feud. They were gonna make up right before Creator Clash 3. Genius promotion. I watch a lot of wrestling though, so I probably was thinking incorrectly because that wasn't the case at all. He puts the thing out and he screws every single person. He screws Real Good Touring, all the business professionals who are making this event with him. He screws me. He screws every other boxer. everyone was screwed from Ian's dumb video because he couldn't wait 2 months.
Now, because he was aware of all this stuff going on, obviously, he was seeing all of this drama, he wanted to express some sympathy and signal that he wasn't on board with the content cop. And so as a result, Nathan went into H3's chat and he sent a $20 super chat to Ethan, communicating he was confused about the whole thing. And this is when one of the most ironic things in this entire story happens. After months of Ian repeatedly attacking Ethan, with a particular emphasis on Ethan's paranoid purity testing, you know, him making sure none of his acquaintances are sympathetic to Hassan or okay with Hassan or something like that, Ian does the exact same thing that he was criticizing Ethan for doing. Well, actually, Anisa does it.
The next day, Anisa texts me a screen grab of my donation and she says, "Is this real?" Anisa took that as I was supporting her enemy that she has chosen, by the way. Ethan and H3 are not my enemy. So then Anisa makes me feel guilty and bad for what I thought was a nice thing. And she's like, "Oh, I can't believe you would do that." I'm 44 freaking years old. This is childhood, high school garbage. What the heck are you doing? I was texting Yoda, my friend, about this, and I said, I think I'm gonna walk. I'm not dealing with her. I can't do this right now. I almost quit when she called me because Harley was out. I was talking to Harley. Harley was talking about his frustrations. I was saying, yeah, Anisa just called me. She tells me, this really hurts us that you would say this. Because in the donation, I said, this is really confusing for all of us. I don't know why they put that video out. It hurts you that I said I'm confused why you're ruining the event? What are you talking about? It hurts you more that you put your video out, not me being upset about it. Oh, I burned a building down. Now everyone's complaining and it really hurts me that everyone's complaining about my fire I caused. What the heck are you talking about?
Now, because he was disillusioned and detached from the Creator Clash stuff, but he was still invested in the event itself, Nathan decided to go on Keemstar's podcast, Killer Creamstar, to clarify that he was trying to seek support for the fighters themselves, not for Ethan or Ian in their respective drama. However, when Ian saw that Keemstar was announcing that he'd be having Nathan on, he dissuaded Nathan from doing so, as he thought it would legitimize Keemstar trash talking the event. Now, Nathan clearly states in this video that one of the main reasons he didn't want to go on Keem's podcast at the time was that he was afraid that he would get another call from Anisa where she's like, "Hey, were you supporting Keemstar? Did you talk to Keemstar? He's not a communist and he's not a sex worker." Now, at this point in the story, Ian and Anisa leave the event altogether, and the people behind the event, the, I guess, Real Good Touring and all the other business partners or whatever, they offer the fighters an extra $10,000, which I'm assuming was coming out of Ian and Anisa's cut, and that $10,000 was intended to keep the fighters training until October. And this put some wind back in Nathan's sails until the event was ultimately canceled. This meant that Nathan wouldn't get a bonus, he wouldn't get an extra $10,000, he would get nothing at all. And because he was, rightfully angry about that, he decided to speak to pretty much everyone who was willing to have him on to talk about it. But not everything was negative regarding this particular thing. In the same video where he talks about all of this, he reveals that he managed to secure himself a spot in a Misfits boxing event where he'll be able to put his boxing skills to good use. And to be honest, he was one of the best boxers at Creator Clash. He finished both of his opponents in the first round. So that's nice to see that he's getting, a little bit of a boost, okay? We all need a boost now and then. And Nathan's also going to be working with Aaron Hansen on some charity efforts since Creator Clash fell apart. Now, in his follow-up video, he also clarified that he's doing fine health-wise and he will be streaming for the next few weeks. And the only reason I mention that is not because he has like prior health concerns. I only mention that because it's interesting that it's almost like you actually can make content and money while preparing for a fight. You don't actually have to train 17 hours every day. You can actually make YouTube videos while doing boxing training. It's mysterious. How could that be? Now, I guess the only question now is how Ian and Anisa have handled the absolute failure of Creator Clash even after they left. Well, Anisa called Ethan ugly, for one. Been there, done that. Then she made a series of tweets where she said, "Okay, I'm just gonna come out and clear something up. Ian won't be happy I'm doing this, but I think we need more transparency." I feel like you're kind of late to the transparency party. And on top of that, like, I feel like you just need to shut up, but I'm gonna read it. Ticket sales were abysmal before the content cop. Promotion wasn't going how we had hoped. Charity wasn't getting the numbers we wanted. The mere fact that she's still bringing up charity here, when they made it clear that the charity was being held independently from Creator Clash, Just goes to show that she's really going to die on this hill. Creator Clash 3 was openly not going to be a charity event. Creator Clash 1 was a charity event. Creator Clash 2 tried to be one and failed. So Creator Clash 3 was not even about charity. So don't bring up charity to defend your screwjob fuck up of an event. To make matters worse, she's clearly defending herself and Ian from all the people saying that the content cop was the reason the event did poorly. But the thing is, even if the content cop had zero impact, the reason the event was going so poorly in the first place was because of Anisa and Ian. They were the faces of the event and they ran it into the ground. It was their responsibility. Why does it even matter if Content Cop was the sole reason or not? It's still your event. You're supposed to be the promoters. Promotion wasn't going as good. The promotion wasn't good. You didn't even fucking promote it. You did nothing. You just cry on Twitter all day. Get off Twitter. And on top of that, we know for a fact that a bunch of the fighters dropped out because of the Content Cop. So what does she think? She thought the event was already shuttered, so she would just dance on its grave and sabotage it even further? Like, how does that make it justified at all? Now, she follows this up by saying, to clarify, I'm saying Ian won't be happy, to make it clear that this decision of making this public is my own and not his. I'm taking responsibility for this statement. Sorry for poor wording. Okay, so she's taking responsibility for the statement in which she's saying that she's not responsible. I got it. Got it. Hey, I got it. I got it! Also, I think the idea that Ian won't be happy is probably a bit of an understatement. The poor guy has not looked happy for a few years now, okay? He needs help. He needs a hug. It could be me. But it gets worse, okay? It gets worse because she says, we were promised a lot of things. A lot of things didn't happen. Who promised you anything? You owned the event. It was your event. There is literally nobody above you that you had to answer to or expect things from, which is why things went the way they did. Based on what Nathan, Dad, came forward to say, they were the ones promising and not delivering on everything. How could Anisa possibly be the victim in this situation at all? The cherry on top of this is that Anisa is like incapable of opening her mouth without glazing Hassan. In this same tweet, she says, I think we made the best out of the situation. The charity got $225K, and that was due to buzz around Hassan supporting the charity. I think this is her, like, I guess retroactively trying to make it like a good thing that they sacrificed everything in order to become Hassan's lapdogs. But remember, if this event was actually ran well and wasn't a waste of everyone's time, it could have made way more than that for charity, like the first one did, which didn't have Hassan involved. Now, later on in a Discord message, Anisa re-ups on her copium as to why the event did poorly. Back in Creator Clash 2, the excuse for it doing poorly was the lack of anti-piracy measures.
But we didn't have any anti-piracy measures. We weren't prepared to deal with what ended up happening.
But now that the event failed before it could even happen, she had to come up with some new excuses. The first one she mentions is lack of promotion, which honestly, if I was a fighter in this thing, this would make me want to tear my fucking hair out. You are the owner. You are the promoter. What do you mean lack of promotion? You guys are easily, despite the fact that, you know, Ian's career is on a bit of a Sunny V2 downward graph, right? You guys are the promotion. You guys are the most famous on the fucking thing. It's your fault. And then she blames it on influencer boxing being less popular and the economy.
Dude, like, oh my God, like, can we talk about like the political and economic state of the world right now?
The first Creator Clash, which is the only successful one, was held when it was still officially a pandemic. Maybe, just maybe, it wasn't actually external circumstances. Maybe it wasn't this and it wasn't that, okay? Maybe it was just you. Honestly, I don't even know what they can do at this point in the future. Like, what kind of content is Ian gonna make now? I think all he can really do is just be like, I'm Hassan's friend now. I hang out with Hassan and Denims and Frojan. I hang out with Frojan. Well, I don't wish them any ill will past this point. It is really unfortunate that this event, which, you know, frankly had a lot of potential, and I think initially probably had some good intentions, was pretty much ruined because of Thing 1 and Thing 2. Consistently making asinine decisions that they're going to continue to defend to this day. Anyway, hope you guys liked the video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to leave a like, be sure to leave a dislike, okay? The TomDark channel, the most active channel. Welcome to the most active channel. All right, but now for the real reason I made this video, which is that I have a new GamerSup Shaker Cup. This video is brought to you by the Turkey Tom Shaker Cup, available for a limited time only. This is actually my first time being outside ever, because outside of this, I spend a lot of time locked in on the computer, and you know I gotta have my caffeine. And what better way to do it than with this cup and its epic design? It's got the Guno meter right here, so as it fills up, you can see the different tiers. It's dangerous. gross, it's dark, it might get you put on a watch list. But that's fine because the federal government actually can't legally take away your GamerSupps cup. This is true, it's verified by true American patriots, and if they do take it away from you, you can personally call Donald Trump and have him get you out of jail. Not to mention GamerSupps has 0 carbs, 0 sugar, and less than 1 calorie. Can you believe it? GamerSupps is also cheaper than energy drinks and soda, and there's no crash from this delicious, absolutely tasty meal. So use code TOM for 10% off right now at gamersupps.gg. I repeat, code TOM. Link in the description to get this epic new shaker cup. You're gonna want it, you're gonna need it. Get it before it's gone.